And here with us in the studios, we have Ted Topouzis, who is a real estate attorney. And one of Ted's focuses is foreclosures. He's phenomenal. He's one of the top dogs, again, in the state, in New England, and Florida and Massachusetts. He actually has an office down in Florida as well, too, right?
Yep.
A lot of our listeners have homes down in Florida as well, and they may know somebody that you could help down there as well.
Might need some services, locally up here. That's fine. Yeah, we have our office in Miami and Aventura, and another one here in Warwick, Rhode Island.
That's great. Yep. And right now we're going to be talking about REO closings, real estate owned closings, guys, which are foreclosure. So, Ted, give us some insights. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm sure some of the audience has heard the term REO before, but didn't know what that meant. And that is basically a bank-owned property that the bank has taken over through a foreclosure, either judicial or non-judicial, and in the New England states it's non-judicial, or through a deed in lieu of foreclosure where the borrower has conveyed the property back to the bank servicer to avoid the foreclosure process. So this has been, as Emilio alluded to, this has been a very common type of property on the market in recent years. I would say from 2008 to 14, a very large percentage, I guess it was 26%, was on the market as a result of the foreclosure process. And today's numbers are definitely way down from there, much removed from that point, but there's still a percentage, and even in the healthiest of economies, there's always going to be that percentage, and it's a factor of personal situations like Emilio mentioned, and that's part of the just the general cycle. But the real estate market is cyclical in nature, and we typically run from a good housing market to a bad one, and back again to a good one. It's the cycle runs every 7 to 10 years, and you hear different time frames from different sources. But I would say that's probably a fair number to consider.
I'd say that's pretty good. It kind of runs with the economy. The housing market takes us down, brings us back up.
Yep, that's right. And then the economy kind of like follows that.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sort of like what just recently happened. So I've been practicing a real estate attorney, practicing in real estate for over 22 years now. And in addition to standard real estate closing transactions in these 3 states, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and in Florida, I also represent banks, servicers, asset management companies. I've done their foreclosures, but also on their deeds in lieu and REO closings, which is what I primarily I focus on when it comes to that type of work. And in doing so, I really felt like it was a good topic to discuss because it's important for those buyers that are interested in purchasing that type of property, and also the agents that represent these buyers, to be aware of certain considerations that are important considerations, and you don't want to risk the loss of an opportunity to purchase a property because you might not have all the insights to that type of transaction. They are a standard closing, but with some wrinkles.
I'm sure.
I would have to throw that in there. Yeah, there's and several things that you need to be aware of. And if you've got some flexibility, I think that's the key right now, Emilio. I mean, and that's the message I want to send out to the audience is if you've got some flexibility, and that's in several different ways. I'll let you know. You need to be aware of that. As banks are very strict. And these are a couple of the points here quickly. Banks are very strict in their purchase and sales agreements and their addenda. These instruments, these documents that the banks put out there through their agents or through their websites, if you're looking to purchase a bank-owned property, throw in everything, including the kitchen sink, all geared to a very pro-seller agreement. This is sometimes not applicable to local customs or closing traditions. So you need to be aware of that. I mean, generally, banks will allow for closing traditions in your local area to dictate, but if you strike any of these provisions out, the chances are very strong that you will either not receive a response, or if you do receive a response, it'll be a negative one. So be aware of that when you're considering some additional language or revision. Definitely reach out to the listing agent or the local attorney that the bank has in their market to ask if this type of revision would or could be considered. The other couple things that I want to mention is you can't pick and choose the location of these properties. If your heart is set on purchasing an REO property, then you need to be flexible with location. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where you'd find a foreclosure anywhere you were looking, but today it's definitely not the case anymore. We spoke about the statistics, and that's pretty clear. So if that's all you want to purchase, then you have to understand that you may be purchasing an area that you weren't willing to in the first place. So another thing is that be prepared for potential bidding war. These properties are priced aggressively, and maybe the less expensive price is interesting, but with that comes competition on the purchase. So you need to be prepared. Proof of financing is an important item as well. I mean, the listing agent is not giving you a hard time in requesting that. They're tasked by their clients, the asset management companies, services, lenders, to have that accompany the purchase and sales agreement.
Should always be pre-approved.
Always has to be there. It has to be there.
Proof of funds.
Sometimes you even have to go through the bank that is foreclosing the property for that financing.
Wow,
they might limit it.
Wow, that's crazy. Let me just throw one thing in there, Ted. So in all my experience of dealing with foreclosures, right, we've placed dozens and dozens of offers and have only been successful basically with cash, with cash, and only on a couple occasions with financing. So if you're going in with a mortgage, you're up against some stiff competition, and I know there's different acts in place and whatnot to help the homeowner get it before investors. But
depending on the seller, sometimes the seller won't allow or will have certain criteria for investors purchasing these assets. Sometimes they don't care, so it kind of runs the gamut. You really need to listen to the listing agents and what they're letting you know. It's just because you might think the cards are stacked against you on these transactions. It's really not the case. The agents are being dictated to, and it's tough to get these properties. And when you do get one, I'm going to emphasize it again. Flexibility is the key. I mean, and I wanted to mention a couple things. I mean, flexibility is important in the sense that these properties are put on the market as soon as the bank takes title to the property, or takes the interest to the property, which means it may even be before the foreclosure deed or the deed in lieu gets recorded in the public records. So these deeds can take time to get executed. It could take weeks, could take even months, I've seen. So it's not the fault of the listing agent nor the seller's attorney. It does take time, so you have to be open-minded. Also, I think in depending on custom in New England, generally people go to their own attorney and run title through their own people just to confirm that the title is clear. It's important because there's a lot of contests on these foreclosures, by mortgagors, prior mortgagors, and you need to be aware that with these contests come case law, and it affects the way that foreclosures have been done in the past and maybe done in the future. So it is a good idea to have your own attorney run that title and then run everything by their underwriter. And one of the really important things, in my opinion, that everybody needs to be aware of is when our REO property is put on the market, it's not marketable title, it's insurable title. Now, what's the difference between these two? And it's such an important thing. It comes up all the time in not every transaction, but very frequently. And that's a factor of risk evaluation. Insurable title is where the title insurer has reviewed the title that's presented to them by their agent, the buyer's attorney, and determined that even if it's not the cleanest, it's good enough for issuing a title insurance policy with no exceptions. Marketable is title that is free and clear of all liens, encumbrances, defects. Zero. There's nothing there. So be aware that these REOs are sold with insurable title, not marketable and insurable title. That's a really key thing.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to mention. I know we're running short on time, but prorations are final. And there's not going to be any adjustments after the closing for taxes, water, sewer. If you work the closing cost credit into your purchase price, and your lender can't use up the entire credit, understand that that difference is not coming back to you. So these are the things that you really need to be aware of. If you have any questions, you got to be lined up with the right people, the right agent, the right attorney.
Yeah, you definitely get it. You should reach out to Ted if you have any questions in regard to foreclosures. And, Ted does a wonderful job of, taking some really great notes and whatnot. And if you want to see any of the notes that Ted had from this program, please go to the roundtableradio.com and shoot us a message. Go to the contact section. It's super easy, guys. We get listeners that contact us every single week, and we're here to help you guys out.